and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am filming how I studied for my Leaving Cert to get primary teaching. I'm really excited. This is my first ever Leaving Cert video on my channel, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it is. And my aim for this channel is that every second week will be week on, week off. So first week will be Leaving Cert primary teaching video, and then the next week will just be fun, vlogs, me chatting about stuff I'm interested in, that kind of thing. Just so the channel isn't just for primary teachers or people doing their Leaving Cert, and that way I get to talk about some of my other interests, because obviously I spend my whole week doing primary school teaching, giving grinds. I like to actually do other things as well. A fair few people actually asked me how I studied for my Leaving Cert and to make a video about it to get primary school teaching. The points for primary school teaching obviously at the moment are so high that it becomes really down to points at the end of the day. It's less about if you're a good teacher and more about if you can get the points to get in. I often get asked on my lives or on my TikTok how I studied for my Leaving Cert. Was it hard for me to study for my Leaving Cert? All this kind of thing. And I genuinely I would answer it straight away in a comment. I usually am quite good at getting back to comments, but I just wanted to make a whole video on it because I did study for my Leaving Cert in quite a, I would say, a weird way. It made sense to me, but to other people it mightn't make sense, or it might make sense to you. That's why I wanted to make a specific YouTube video about it. Obviously, as with all my videos, this is just how I studied for it and how it worked for me. It's not going to work for everyone, but if one person takes one thing from this, I'll be happy. Main things I get asked is how I got the points for primary teaching, all this kind of thing. And I just want to make a disclaimer at the start of this video, because I definitely don't want to give off the impression that I am extremely intelligent or academics came really easy to me. They didn't at all. I struggled a lot in school and I had to work very hard to get average grades. Like, my grades definitely didn't reflect how much study I would have put in. So I had to work very hard to get what I got in the Leaving Cert. A lot of people do ask me. It's not something I like to talk about all the time, but I feel like for the purpose of this video it does make sense to kind of tell you. So I got 495 points in my Leaving Cert. I'm not academic at all. I'm not bragging at all about this. I worked very hard to get those points and none of it kind of came naturally to me at all. As a lot of you know, I'm a very creative person. I love playing piano, I love singing, I love languages. Academics were just not my thing, but I knew I wanted to get primary school teaching, so I put that aside, studied hard and got what I wanted. So this video is not to show off or anything like that. This video is to simply show you that if you put your mind to it and you do the work, anyone can achieve the memory test that is the Leaving Cert, in my opinion. Obviously a personal opinion. So a little bit of background, I studied in 5th and 6th year for my Leaving Cert. I did all my homework and I studied for all my class tests. That's just how my brain works, and that's how I studied for my Leaving Cert. I'm going to be showing you how I actually broke down the content and how I studied it in a minute. I got a half day in school on Wednesday, so I would have studied then. All day Sunday I pretty much took off because I did drama class, and obviously that was very important to me, so I did take Sundays off, but I would have probably studied Saturday, Friday evenings, that kind of thing, especially coming into 6th year. As I was saying, a lot of people ask me how many hours a day you should be studying to do well in the Leaving Cert. I am not going to be giving that answer at all, because that literally differs for so many people. You could sit down at 9 AM and finish studying at 6 PM and get as much done as someone else who would sit at 9 and just crash it through till 12. So definitely listening to times isn't it, and you'll see how I actually broke down the content in here. I don't want this video to put anyone under pressure or to make anyone feel like this is what they should be doing. This is what worked for me. It's completely personal, and this is how much I need to study to get the results that I want. Everyone is different, and do not feel like you have to be pressured. The point system is awful for mental health of students. It is so much pressure. I definitely don't want to add to that. I want to relieve that and just offer some tips and advice on how I actually broke down the content to study for the Leaving Cert. So let's get into it. Yeah, I'm also conscious I don't want to make this video really long, because I know obviously people who are watching this are doing their Leaving Cert and they're dead busy. So the subjects I did for my Leaving Cert, I did all higher level aside from maths, and I did ordinary level maths, and I didn't count that at all, so I didn't really put any effort into it. I did higher level for my junior cert and I got a H2 in that, so, or whatever, B, so I didn't really need to study it per se to get like an O3 or O4, whatever the requirement is for maths, so I just ignored maths. Then the other subjects I did was English, Irish, history, Italian, music and home economics. So I might just run through at the end exactly how I individually studied them, but broadly this is what I did. So for 5th year I basically just kept on top of the content and wrote it down every topic that we would cover in 5th year and then studied it as I went. I learned it all along and I kind of just kept it in my head because obviously you're starting new content in 5th year, so you can just keep it all fresh in your head from when you started. Then when I went into 6th year, I drew up the plan. Now this is where it gets kind of confusing, but I'm going to try and explain it as best I can and hopefully it comes across. My whiteboard is from Boards Direct if anyone is looking for one, and I'll have them linked in the bio. I made up this chart on an A3 sheet of paper and I'll show you the actual chart. I still have it stuck up in my wardrobe, which is just so weird, I just never took it down. I drew this up at the start of September of 6th year and I used it right up to my mocks, and then from my mocks to my real thing I did kind of more condensed study. This might sound confusing, but I'm going to try and break it down as simple as I can and hopefully it comes across some use. Okay, so the first thing I did was I calculated how many weeks there was from September to the mocks. I'd also not include any holidays, so like say I'd give myself 2 weeks at Christmas, give myself the midterm, give myself a few weeks that I didn't count in to give myself a little catch up. So there was 22 weeks from September to the mocks. This is all just rough, by the way, you might have to go out and do your own calculations about this. So then what I did was I wrote every subject that I was taking on the side of the piece of paper. English, Irish, Irish oral, history, Italian, Italian oral, music, music practical, and home ec. So they were all my subjects, so I'll write a few of them down just so I can demonstrate. I'll write 2 or 3 of them down. Okay, the next thing I would do would be draw the amount of weeks in boxes beside the subject. So I draw 22 weeks out. So for example, there's English and there's 5 weeks. So that'd be 5 weeks worth of study. Then what I do was I'd go to the English course, I'd take the English course, so everything we have to study. I would break down the English course into 22 weeks. So I'd look at everything we have to study, poem, comparative, essays, all the different things, and I would divide it equally among the boxes. You can divide them as small as you need based on the number of weeks. So for example, it was 1 poet a week, worked out, 1 comparative, that kind of thing. It broke down equally into 22 parts, or roughly enough. Right, so once I had this filled in, the same thing for every single subject. So Irish, I'd do the Irish written paper divided out. Irish oral, I would divide out the short pictures and the topics among the 22 weeks until my exam. The next thing I did was then come up with a weekly timetable. So I didn't study, a lot of people say, oh, did you study 1 subject a night? Did you study a couple of subjects a night? All I do was I'd have a requirement of how many boxes I had to tick off each week. So I used to have to tick off 1 box from each subject each week. For example, I would have to get Durkin done in English this week. I would have to get whatever my first Irish box was done this week. At the end of the week then, as I'd go through the week, I'd colour them in, and then I'd have to have 1 box coloured in by the end of the week. So this is how I divided up my study. So I wasn't confined to studying a certain subject in the night. I wasn't confined to studying 1 subject a day. I was just confined to getting 1 box ticked off every week and keeping on track of how many boxes I needed ticked off. It'll make more sense when I show you the real thing, but I just wanted to explain it out to you now. Okay, so for example, here's the actual chart for my Leaving Cert mock. So as you can see, I have the 22 weeks or whatever boxes ticked out, and every week I'd colour in how many boxes I should have coloured in. So this week I should have 11 coloured in. This is how they divided it out. I know it looks messy, but so for English I had to do 1 topic a week and then 3 quotes. Now as you can see, I divided it out and I still had loads of free space, so give yourself that in case, you know, you want to take a week off or whatever. 1 poem, 1 prose, 1 essay, and then 1 short picture and 1 oral topic in Irish. Home ec, I did a topic a week, and see the way I have numbers, I would have had like a list somewhere of what the numbers meant. Music, Tchaikovsky, Bohemian Rhapsody, they're all divided out. History, all the essays written on top, you can see so many. Maths, 1 chapter every 2 weeks. Italian, I hadn't got that much because I didn't really have to study Italian too hard. First week then I did Durkin, I would do that. I would do 1 thing in home ec, 1 that, and I'd have to have 1 ticked off. I hope that makes sense. Just meant that every night that I sat down to study, I was working my way through a weekly goal rather than a day goal. In 5th year, I just wrote out everything I'd done, so that I knew then for my Leaving Cert what I actually had to do. So as I said, I don't want to make this video too long-winded. That's how I divided up the topics, and then I'm just going to quickly talk about how I individually studied each subject. For English, I would have literally written full essays, gotten them corrected, and then divided them out into simple notes broken down. Irish, I would have pretty much done the same. For my oral, I would have just learned, spoke, said the notes out loud, and then for the written topics, I would just keep writing them out in shorthand, highlighting the key bits, breaking them down as small as I could. History, I learnt my essays. Italian, I just recommend recording and listening to yourself speaking. Music, I listened to the pieces, wrote notes as I listened to them. Home ec then, literally just wrote everything out, loads and loads and loads of notes. Really quickly before I end this video, I want to show you how I studied my essays and how I broke them down from one big chunk of words into an actual manageable, achievable, learnable essay, if that's even a word. I would have used this particular technique for English, Irish and history essays mainly. So I'd start with the essay title in the middle, and then have the full written essay, and this is how I break it down and actually learn it. So I'd start by writing my intro, conclusion, and then I would just go through and say the first word in every sentence, or the key words, key dates, key shanuckles, phrases, pictures, anything I wanted to use to help me remember the structure and the order of that paragraph. Then I would break all the different paragraphs in the essay into mini headings. Okay, then I'd label the paragraphs, like give them a name based on what they're about, and then do the exact same thing for every paragraph. Draw pictures to help you get the structure of the essay into your head rather than learning one big load of words in an order. I've started a new thing on my YouTube channel like last week, where if you post a photo on your story or you DM me a photo of you watching my video, I'll shout you out in my video. So I'd like to give this week's shout out to Rachel, Maeve, Jade and Angela. Thank you so much for watching my videos, I really appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for 1.4 thousand subscribers. I am so delighted with that. It's crazy. I'm glad to see people are enjoying my videos. If you aren't already, please do subscribe. I really do appreciate it. I absolutely love making these videos. So if there's anything you want to see, leave them down below. Bye guys, thank you.